Badly. Thank you all so very much for your patience and for coming out for this historic debate. So for folks that were with us for our initial orientation, I'd just like to mention that part of the reason we're doing this is honor of these two 50th anniversaries, which start this year. What anniversaries might you be asking? Namely, in this year, it is the start of the American Revolution. But of course, that hasn't happened yet. Right now, people are still discussing whether or not should the colonies be part of Great Britain or should they seek independence. That is the burning question of our time in 1775, and that is what we're very proud and happy to have some very talented students discuss exactly that issue. The art of debate is something that is absolutely vital for civil discourse and something that's probably more needed today than ever. So we're very grateful to all our student participants today and all the schools that supported this. And without further ado, I'm going to invite to come up our first team. This is team Rev 5. Please come up, Evelyn Martin and Sydney Reminar. And while they're coming up, if you've not seen a debate before, there is a format, but it's primarily driven by the debaters themselves. So there will not be a moderator up here on stage. It is going to be the students. You can have your pick. It will be the students themselves who will be self-guiding, as you will, throughout this process. And our next team, Rev 6, Emily Harris and Jay LaHoo. Please come on up. Final check-in with James Gallen, if he is here. Are all the judges ready? Do they have their forms? All right, very good. So without further ado, I will give the stage to our teams. Good luck.
Hey guys.
Hi again. Long time no see.
I feel like waving to Gina.
Are we missing the coin flip?
Yes.
This is our first debate. Hopefully not our last. We have 2 more anniversary years coming up. So a debate has to start with whose question will be presented by each side. And of course the question is, the colonies shall seek independence from Great Britain. So we're going to flip a coin, and why don't you call it?
Heads.
It is tails.
We will take pro, please.
So they will take the pro position. And could you explain specifically what that means?
Yeah, so pro is saying that we in 1775 as colonies should seek independence from Great Britain.
Proceed when you're ready.
And then could we please go second? You guys go with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you all identify who your first, second, third, and fourth speakers were?
No. For us, since we're going first, our first is Emily Harris.
And then I would be the second speaker since I'm going first for our team. My name is Evelyn Martin.
And then I'm the third speaker, Jay LaHoo.
And I'm the fourth speaker, Sydney Reminar.
Try to. Okay. Am I all set to start? Okay. Alrighty. Partner ready?
Yes.
Opponents ready?
Yes.
Judges ready? My time will begin now. My partner and I urge the judges to affirm the resolution the colonies should declare independence from Great Britain. We will support this belief with the following 2 contentions. Contention 1. Great Britain clearly does not have colonists' best interest as proven by the Coercive Acts. Since 1765, when the Stamp Act was passed, preventing reasonable taxation for goods such as legal documents, Britain has continuously passed acts that hinder colonies from succeeding. These acts have only worsened over the past decade, and in 1773, they reached a breaking point. When we tried to revolt with the Boston Tea Party, Britain passed the Intolerable Acts, which include the following. Britain has blocked our most valuable port, under the Boston Port Act, leaving us with total trading instability. Not only this, but the only way Britain will unblock the Bostonian port is if we as colonies abide by their ridiculous standards of taxation on the East India Tea Company. Britain has forced emerging colonies seeking freedom and representation into a situation where nowhere is safe. Colonists are forced to give up homes to British soldiers under the Quartering Acts. As a way to stay in power, the Quartering Act allows high-ranking military officials to demand better accommodations for troops and to refuse inconvenient locations for quarters. Under the governmental control of Britain, it becomes increasingly difficult to see a world in which Britain makes decisions in our best interest instead of their own power-hungry agenda. Contention 2. Colonies currently don't have any say in governmental affairs, which leads to political disadvantages at every single level. Not only are the coercive and Quartering Acts wildly harmful for colonies, we as colonies cannot change or fight these injustices because of the governmental silence Britain has imposed on us. When Massachusetts attempted to create a fair and just governmental system, Britain passed the Massachusetts Government Act, which forces the Massachusetts Council into a body of Crown appointees. This allows the new royal governor to decide on lower levels of power, such as judges, jurors, and county sheriffs, completely undermining the use of a fair and just legal system. As George Washington, a leader of colonists, stated, quote, "At a time when our lordly masters in Great Britain will be satisfied with nothing less than the deprivation of American freedom, it seems highly necessary that something shall be done to avert the stroke and maintain the liberty which we have derived from our ancestors," unquote. What the colonies are currently trying to achieve is new, unprecedented, and exciting. But without independence from Britain, the future we hope for is completely obsolete. For these reasons, my partner and I urge you to affirm the resolution the colonies should declare independence from Great Britain. Thank you.
Are my opponents ready? Yes. Is my partner ready? Are my judges ready? My time begins now. My partner and I stand in firm negation of today's resolution. Resolved, the colonies should declare independence from Great Britain. We gather today not merely to deliberate a political question, but to determine the fate of a people and the future of a continent. The resolution before us calls for a radical severance from the British Crown, a leap not of progress, but of peril. Imagine a continent where French forces mass at our borders without opposition, while our once prosperous ports lie empty of British trading vessels. This isn't speculation, this is the inevitable result of colonial independence. We negate through two contentions. First, separation from Britain would destroy our economic prosperity, and second, independence would leave us defenseless against foreign threats. Let me address my first contention regarding economic devastation. Every day, our prosperity depends on the carefully structured British mercantile system. Governor Thomas Hutchinson's 1774 survey of Massachusetts trade reveals that 82% of our merchant vessels rely on British naval protection and trading privileges. His analysis of Boston's port records show that merchants operating within the British system earn 3 times the profit of those attempting independent trade routes. Consider the testimony of James Hamilton, Philadelphia's leading merchant, who reports that 91% of colonial exports of tobacco, rice, and indigo depend entirely on British markets. The Board of Trade's 1773 economic assessment demonstrates that colonial ports within the British trading system process 5 times the cargo of independent ventures with significantly lower losses to piracy and spoilage. I will now discuss my second contention regarding defense vulnerability. The recent French and Indian War demonstrated conclusively our dependence on British military might. General Thomas Gage reports that maintaining our current frontier security requires 8,000 British regulars, supported by the world's strongest navy. Colonial militia commanders acknowledged that without British forces, our western settlements would be immediately vulnerable to French allied Native American raids. This military situation is precarious. Recent assessments from our own Colonial Defense Committee show critical shortages in that we only have 3 months' supply of gunpowder in colonial stores, we have less than 100 pieces of artillery for coastal defense, we have no organized navy to protect merchant shipping, and we have insufficient manufacturing capacity for military supplies. For these reasons, the certain economic collapse and the immediate defense crisis, we strongly urge a negative ballot. The question of independence isn't merely political, it's existential. The evidence before us in this year of 1775 is clear. Separation from Britain would destroy the very foundations of colonial security and prosperity. The cost is simply too high. Thank you.
Opponents, are you ready for crossfire?
One moment, let me pull up the document and I'm ready. Okay, I am all set.
Okay. Opponents ready, judges ready, my time will begin. Now, so how can you suggest that there's any future of collaboration when Britain has proven to us time and time again that they are not seeking collaboration, they are seeking power?
Currently, we have members in the parliament who support the colonies, and also, how would you propose that we're going to be able to support the independence of these colonies without the support of Britain?
Well, to respond to your first thing, even if we have members in the parliament that support the colonies, they are not making decisions based on that. They don't have the power and they don't have the ability to actually change what is happening, and that what's happening is taxation without representation, and what's happening is colonies are being oppressed. Can you restate your question, please?
I would like to ask, how are you going to propose that these colonies, who have no economic background, have no political stability, are going to be able to essentially wage war against the greatest military power at this time? And if we are able to win that, how are we going to have a stable political government and economic system?
Well, my point is that the reason we don't have this governmental or economic stability is because of the oppression that Britain has on us, because as we stated with the Navigation Acts, the Quartering Act, and all of the intolerable acts, Britain is currently making it so we don't have any power or economic stability within our own colonies or with any other outside countries, such as France, Dutch, anywhere else.
Okay, but yes, fine. But how would you propose us, as these colonies, would be able to survive? You haven't responded to that. How are we going to be able to thrive as a nation?
By trading with countries other than
countries
Britain.
that won't respect us as a completely new
That
nation.
is a hypothetical that they won't respect us. And as the debate
And a
handbook
hypo is
says,
also-
we are not allowed to make a plan. But what we are saying is that the current oppression is far worse than
you're
the
willing to risk the
possibility
lives of our
change.
citizens?
I am. Currently, our citizens
You're willing to
are
risk
dying.
the death. You're willing to
Currently,
risk
our
mass death.
citizens are
They're
being
not dying.
harmed more so than they are. Yes, they
More
are.
so than
British
they're going to be
soldiers-
harmed in a war against the greatest military power in the world.
Yes, that is
Really?
what I am saying,
Okay.
with the support of other countries. And we are currently,
Do you
our
have
biggest
any countries
threat
that you
is
know will
Britain.
support us?
France.
France has. That's our time.
Is my partner ready? Are my opponents ready?
Yes.
Are my judges ready? My time begins now. My opponents stated two main contentions: that separation would destroy economic prosperity, and that independence would leave us helpless against foreign threats. I would like to first rebut my opponent's first contention. The idea that independence would lead to economic ruin does not recognize both the constraints of British trade policies and the colony's existing economic strengths. Britain enforces oppressive mercantilist policies like the Navigation Acts, which limit colonial trade to only Britain, suppressing the potential for economic growth and forcing colonists to sell raw materials at low prices while buying materials from Britain at high prices. We are not receiving any support from Britain, but instead are being exploited. Severance from the abusive Great Britain would be a benefit for the colonies. Moreover, the colonies are not without alternatives. American merchants have continued to evade trade restrictions and have developed routes with other countries like France, Spain, and the Netherlands. Independence would allow the colonies to trade freely on the open global market. My opponents need to expand their view of the situation and realize that Britain is the reason we suffer economically, and that without them, we would flourish. Now I would like to rebut my opponent's second contention that the colonies would be helpless against foreign threats, which is simply untrue. The colonists have already organized militias like the Minutemen, who successfully resisted British troops at Lexington and Concord in April of 1775, and defended themselves during the French and Indian War. The colonists have proven their strength at defending themselves, and with unity and determination, the colonies could easily survive. The colonists also have advantages. They know the terrain, are fighting for their homes and families, and are more motivated than hired British soldiers. The recent mobilization during the French and Indian War showed that colonial militias, if they are coordinated, are very effective. Now I would like to quickly restate my contentions. My partner and I believe that we must declare independence due to Britain's repeated abuses of power and disregard for colonial well-being. For instance, the Coercive Acts, Boston Port Act, and Coordinating Act. Moreover, colonists have no meaningful voice right now in the British government. I urge the judges to vote a pro ballot. Thank you.
Is my partner ready?
Yes.
Are my opponents ready? My time begins now.
We stand in firm negation of today's resolution that the colonies should declare independence from Great Britain. Now refute our opponents' arguments with reinforcing our negative position. Let's first address their first contention regarding Britain's disregard for colonial interests. While our opponents point out the Coercive Acts as evidence for British tyranny, they fail to recognize that the broader context. These measures were implemented as a response to colonial unrest, particularly the Boston Tea Party of 1773, where $10,000 worth of British tea was destroyed. Any sovereign nation must maintain order within its territories. The port closures and additional measures when tyranny was temporarily measured designated to restore stability, not permit restrictions on colonial prosperity. Their argument about taxation fails to acknowledge that these taxes fund the very infrastructure and military protection that enables colonial prosperity. The colonies pay for lower taxes than British citizens in Great Britain, yet receive the full benefits of being part of the British Empire. This brings me to our first contention. Separation from British would destroy our economic prosperity. We currently enjoy trading status within the world's most powerful commercial empire. Independence would mean losing access to British markets, facing hostile tariffs, and struggling to establish new trade relations as a fledgling nation. Regarding their second contention about colonial representation, our opponents present a fundamentally flawed argument. While they claim we have no say in government affairs, they overlook the numerous colonial assemblies that effectively manage local matters. The British system of colonial governments has evolved over time, and many colonies have substantial autonomy in their international affairs. Their example of Massachusetts actually undermines their own argument. The Crown's intervention came only after repeated violations of imperial law, not arbitrary exercise of power. This context connects directly to our second contention. Independence would leave us defenseless against immediate foreign threats. Our opponents have failed to address how colonies would defend themselves against the Spanish to the south, the French to the west, and various Native American nations who might seize the opportunity to reclaim their territories. British military might currently protect our borders, shipping lanes, and commercial interests. Without this protection, we might be vulnerable to invasion or economic coercion by European powers. We demonstrate that independence would lead to economic collapse and military vulnerability, two consequences that are far more devastating than any current political frustrations. For these reasons, I urge you to vote negation for today's resolution. Thank you.
I think we should.
Oh, do you guys want to switch so that like when we're doing the crossfires? Perfect.
Is that your question?
Yeah, that's what she said. Okay. Is my opponent ready?
Yes.
Are my judges ready? Our time begins now. You stated that the receive the benefits of being in the British Empire, but how can you justify this statement when Britain restricts trade and responds to opposition with oppressive policies while not giving colonists a say in government?
As I said, they are having a say in government.
How? How are they having a say in the government?
the British system of colonial governments has evolved over time from what you guys originally stated to now they have autonomy in their own international affairs. But
They have autonomy within the colonies, but they have no say in British Parliament. And Parliament enacts acts and laws that are oppressive and that affect them. And they are being taxed, and they have no say in that.
Yes, they are being taxed. Their taxing is at less cost than what is actually being taxed by the British, like citizens within Britain, and they're getting the full benefits of living under the British economy, which if they become independent from those if the colonies become independent, they won't receive any of those benefits and will be in turn paying more money.
But taxation is just one of the negative things that Britain does to the colonies. They also put standing armies, they close the British ports, they restrict our trade. How is this beneficial to us?
Because we do not have the resources or the economic stability in order to support ourselves.
But we've shown that we do because we have trade routes with other countries that evade the Navigation Acts. But if we were not under the Navigation Acts and we did seek independence, we would be able to expand these. And we have shown that this is the reason we will have economic independence eventually under the pro side.
But by becoming independent, we are risking any of our trade connections becoming not untrusted, because there's the risk of countries not trusting us because we are new and don't have economic stability.
That's a very hypothetical statement. While what I was talking about is happening currently, and we know we can trust. Okay, that's time.
Alrighty, partner ready?
Yes.
Opponents ready?
Yes.
Judges ready? My time will begin now. What this debate comes down to is the clear fact that Britain does not have our colony's best interests at heart. My partner and I are not arguing that we should just blindly dive into a war with Britain. We're simply saying that we can either continue to be oppressed and remain stagnant out of fear, or we can fight back with the resources that we will have without Great Britain. My opponent stated that our ports are prosperous with Britain ships, but currently, under Britain's rules of our ports, they're not prosperous, and we can't trade with any country because Britain has blocked our most valuable port under the Boston Port Act, leaving us with total trading instability, which leads to governmental and economic instability. One example of a country that would support us under severance of Great Britain is France. France is a longtime rival of Britain with a powerful navy and strong economic interests in weakening British control. The fact is that my opponents are arguing that we would be better off under the clear oppression of Britain, and they haven't responded to either of my first contentions of Britain's power-hungry rule, and for these clear reasons, my partner and I have urged the judges to affirm the resolution.
Ladies and gentlemen, my partner and I, are my opponents ready? Yeah. Is my partner ready? Are my judges ready? Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, my partner and I firmly negate that the colonies should declare independence from Great Britain. Our case rests on two critical contentions that make independence not just unwise, but dangerous. First, breaking off from Great Britain would shatter our economic foundation. Over 80% of our merchant ships rely on British protection, and our major exports, tobacco, rice, and indigo, depend almost entirely on British markets. Colonial ports under British protection handle 5 times more cargo than independent ventures. Second, and most urgently, independence would leave us defenseless. We currently rely on 8,000 British regulars in the world's strongest navy for protection. Our militia faces critical shortages. Just 3 months of gunpowder, barely 100 artillery pieces, and no navy of our own? Without British military might, we'd be immediately vulnerable to French forces and hostile tribes on our frontiers. Our opponents failed to recognize that the independence of the colonies would lead to complete economic and political devastation. Our opponents quite literally said they are willing to sacrifice the lives of our citizens. These are real people, real lives at stake. Our opponents' proposed revolution states that we have more motivation. In no way can motivation serve us well against the immense military that is Great Britain. Our opponents fail to recognize how these taxes that Britain had enacted allows for the prosperity of the colonies. The evidence is clear. Independence would destroy both our prosperity and our security. My partner and I continue to urge a negative ballot. Thank you. Can we please take a minute of prep time? Thank you.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. I will keep the time for the Grand Crossfire, and our time begins.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Can
So
I
this
start?
Oh, yeah,
grand
sorry.
crossfire will be 3 minutes compared to our crossfires, which were previously 2 minutes each.
Yes.
Opponents ready, judges ready, our time will begin now. So how can we trust a government that punishes peaceful protests like the Boston Tea Party, as Sydney said, with economic strangulation?
Economic strangulation, I'm sorry, that's exactly what would happen if we were to declare independence. There would be literally no economic background for these colonies. I don't understand how you're proposing this revolution without recognizing that we have no background in any of this.
I'm
We
saying
have no
that the
political or
reason that we
economic
don't have
stability.
this background is because Britain is clearly oppressing us. They literally blocked our Boston port, so we cannot trade with anyone other than them. How is that not economic
the Boston
strangulation?
Tea Party wasn't simply just a control or power trip. It was as a result because the colonials dumped $10,000 worth of British tea.
Because of unfair taxation.
Unfair taxation, but that doesn't mean, also, you called it a peaceful protest? Are you seriously saying that
Nobody was hurt. That's peaceful.
Okay. We have a question.
You say that we will have support from France if we become like independent, but like, are we forgetting about the French and Indian War that happened just a decade ago?
We're
That
not
was with
specifically stating that we will have support from France, but
Actually,
we are
you did.
saying that we have clear precedent of these trade routes for the economic side of this debate with Spain, France, and the Dutch. So we know that we can flourish economically, and the one thing standing in our way is Great Britain.
We're
And
not
also
saying
the-
that France is going to swoop in and we're going to become best friends and France is going to become the new Britain. We are just simply saying that we will be able to trade with France as they don't want Britain's best
But
interest.
would France want to collaborate with people that were quite literally in a war against them only a decade ago?
Well, the point is that we're seceding from the people that were in the war
yes,
with them a decade ago.
you're expecting these three really big sovereign powers in the world right now to want to trade with this completely unstable nation. That's
to trade?
just unreasonable.
Yes, because we have the
true.
goods for trading.
We don't have
With our
as we
government?
stated in our argument. All of the goods that we export, the major goods, 80%, all rely on Great Britain. How are you going to expect? What are you
They
proposing?
rely
we're
on
going to
Great Britain
export?
because Great Britain has set up this situation in
Because
which
Great
we
Britain is
cannot.
one of the most powerful
Yeah,
people.
but you
No,
guys
it's
have.
because they are monopolizing us and taking our money and restricting us and oppressing us. And we have shown that we can evade these laws and trade with other countries. But you want
How
us
are
to
we going to
continue be
establish this
oppressed.
trade with other countries?
It's already
We want
established.
to
It's
prevent
already
we want to
established.
prevent the losing the lives of countless people from this
That's hypothetical.
revolution.
You haven't proven
Can
that.
we have one person talking at a time?
Yes.
You're going to lose the argument if you talk across each other.
Wait, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so what we're saying is we know that lives will be lost and that is not something we are taking for granted, but we are saying right now we can either continue to have this oppression for the rest of future and we can have this authoritarian rule clearly govern us as it has gotten worse over the past hundreds of years, or we can try to change it and seek independence and actually figure out a solution that will help our people instead of just Britain.
I'm sorry, but I just see that risk is too great to take. We are risking our own sovereignty and our own political freedoms, and that's time.
Have we used that?
I will take our prep time. opponents ready?
Yes.
Is my partner ready? Are my judges ready? My time begins now. In the end, this debate comes down to fighting against oppressive rule and while recognizing the evident strengths of the colonies. My opponents continue to take hypothetical stances, and they say that seeking independence could threaten our economic stability and our safety. But we demonstrate current realities and past precedent. Economically, the colonies currently evade the Navigation Acts and trade with numerous foreign powers. Seeking independence would not threaten us economically, but strengthen these current trade routes and give us more money and resources. The only thing stopping us is Britain. In terms of safety, the colonies have shown their immense ability to fight back against foreign forces, including Britain itself. My opponents want to rely on a pessimistic viewpoint and accept a sad truth. They want us to continue to be oppressed, both economically and governmentally. They want us to accept the fact that standing armies in our cities and closed ports are normal. They want us to do nothing. We, on the other hand, want to fight back and have proven that this will be a winning war for the colonies. Thus, I strongly urge the judges to vote a pro ballot in today's debate. Thank you.
My partner ready?
Yeah.
Are my opponents ready? Are my judges ready? The time begins now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this debate comes down to two critical issues that the affirmative has failed to address. First, economics. Yes, we have faced tax and trade restrictions, but these support a system that enables our prosperity. Our opponents haven't explained how we replace the British trade network, manage our war debts, or maintain stable currency. They offer complaints about the Stamps Act, but no practical solution for economic survival after independence. Second, and the most crucial, defense. The affirmative has remained silent on this existential threat. Without British Army and Royal Navy, we face immediate invasion from France and Spain, raids on our ships, and threats from hostile powers. Our colonial militias alone cannot protect our borders or our commerce. The resolution asks whether we should declare independence. Should demands we consider consequences, not just grievances. The affirmative has listed complaints, but offered no viable path forward. They want us to leap blindly into catastrophic economic collapse and military vulnerability. The choice is clear. Vote negative to prevent economic devastation and preserve our security. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our student debaters who really did an excellent job debating the key question of our time, and in fact one that we will not have an answer for until after 8 years of Revolutionary War. We are now April 12th, 2025, just a week before the 250th anniversary of April 19th, the shot heard around the world with Lexington and Concord. And that begs the question, what comes next, both historically and in this debate today? On the historical side, what comes next is the realization that now the war has started, we need cannon in order to fight it effectively. So once the colonies have made that decision, they almost immediately embark on an idea, an expedition, if you will, an expedition to capture the forts at Ticonderoga and Crown Point. We will be commemorating that 250th anniversary as well, right here in southwestern Vermont on May 2nd and 3rd and 4th. We're doing two things. We're having an educational 4th grade field trip on May 1st and 2nd, and then on the 3rd and 4th, there's a public regional commemoration throughout all of southwestern Vermont. And for more information about that and the locations for that, that's all available on Bennington250.org. I do have a few people I would like to thank for today. First, I'd like to start with our judges. Thank you, Joyce Goodfriend, Ron Eisenman, Derek Boothby, Father Jeremy Means-Koss, Dimitri Garter, and Mary Rogers for being our judges today. Thank you. I'd also have a very special thank you to the Keelan Family Foundation. It was really their idea and support that has made this first debate possible. I am now hearing interest in an additional debate perhaps next year, so stay tuned for that. I would also like to thank Dina Lacoste, the Arlington Memorial High School principal, as well as Hooper Pickering, a teacher here at the Arlington Memorial High School. I would also like to thank Ramontos in Arlington, the Bennington 250th Anniversary Committee for helping organize this, and to James Gallen, a teacher from Mount Anthony Union Middle School, who has been a key person in helping us do this debate correctly. And I also would be remiss to not thank our debate coaches who brought these students here today. So I'd like a round of applause for our debate coaches. And last and most importantly, a thank you to our student debaters, not just here on the stage with me, but those out in the audience for a really tremendous job on this 250th anniversary debate. So thank you all very much. So what comes next in the debate? You've heard these excellent presentations today. We will be giving some time for our judges to finalize their tabulations. So in the meantime, we invite everyone to join us in the library. We have refreshments and food to feed everyone, and then we will be announcing the final winners in the library. So please, at this point, again, thank you for attending, and we'll see you all in the library for the award ceremony. If I can have your attention, please. All right, everybody. Again, thank you very much for joining us for this 250th anniversary debate. And I'm going to introduce James Gallant to give us the results.
Okay, hello everybody. I have tabulated the results. We had 4 judges, and the judges were split down the middle. So it is a split decision. Thankfully, we have speaker points that could range up into the hundreds. And after tabulating all of those, we are within 2 points of one another. So this was an extremely closely matched debate, which is of interest because this was something that was hotly debated within these communities. And both sides strongly felt about it. And so this was fitting for what was going on 250 years ago now. So, in first place, with 2 points higher in speaker score than the other team, we have the team that argued the con side against joining, or against the revolution, which is Evelyn Martin and Sydney Reminar.
Why don't you come on up, and can I also invite their team coach to join us as well? And we'll go ahead and have you face the camera. And we're going to start by presenting you with this first place award. Ooh. And we also have for you, in recognition of the effort you put into this, we have checks for the 2 of you for $250 each. And we're also presenting an additional check to the coach and to the team as a whole to give the entire team agency in deciding what to do with it. And that is for an additional $500. Well done. And actually, Coach, if we can keep you up here and bring forth our runners-ups.
Yes, the runner-up team, arguing the pro side, Emily Harris and Jay Leahy.
Congratulations. Well done. Congratulations. And we have a prize award for you, trophy as well. And we also, and this is a surprise, they did not know this, but thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, the Keelan Family Foundation, we have an additional cash award for our runners-up to the tune of $100 each. Amazing. Congratulations. That's incredible. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well done. Cheers.
Thank you.
And to all of you, again, thank you for joining us and participating in this 250th anniversary debate on the question of should the colonies seek independence from New England? And apparently, according to the winners, we should not. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Cheers.